I'm from Rotherham in the north of England. I've been a FIFA international referee since 2005.
When I look back to being an 8-year-old, I had no ambition to become a football referee. I don't think many 8-year-olds do hold that ambition, and like many other kids, I wanted to be a professional footballer and worked hard and tried to make the grade, but just wasn't good enough. That was the bottom line. I realised that when I was about 16 or 17, and it was my father who came to me at about that age and said, "Howard, you're not a very good footballer." I thought about doing a bit of refereeing because he'd done some himself when he'd finished playing, and I said, "I'm not really interested, Dad, because I think referees are all bald old men, really, when I think about them," and that's probably what I've become some years later. But
he said maybe it'd be something I would be interested in giving a go.
I decided to give it a go. 8-week course, did an examination at the end of it. Took charge of my first game a couple of weeks later, under 11s football in South Yorkshire. That's all it was. Came off not really knowing what I'd done, but seemed to recall having enjoyed it and thinking, maybe if I work hard enough I can get to a level that I'd hoped to get to as a player, but in another way. Stuck at it, worked hard, took 11 years to make it onto the Football League referees list, and then another 3 to make it onto the Premier League. So it doesn't happen overnight, it takes a lot of time, a lot of perseverance. A lot of times I've come home and thrown my bag in the corner and thought, that's it, I'm packing in, but I've gone back out and done it again, and eventually it's a journey that's taken me all the way to the very top of the very pinnacle, I guess, in the Worldcup as well. Combined it very much with a full-time job in policing, when refereeing was my hobby and police work was my full-time occupation. Got to a stage in the refereeing career where I had to make a decision, which way do I go? But refereeing was offering me full-time employment, so I reduced my police hours down to part-time and then went on a career break, which allowed me to concentrate fully on the refereeing.
First of all, people maybe don't know that I've actually turned to do some part-time police work in my local town. Of course, it's difficult to do a regular policeman's job now for me. Certainly undercover work is not possible. So I help to arrange activities for kids to get engaged in football. Kids who might otherwise be standing on street corners with not a lot to do, or might be at risk of getting involved in some antisocial behaviour. I can use my contacts in football, put on really regular sessions, and I think something like 500 or 600 kids now are involved in the football sessions that I'm proud of. That scheme called Sport FX, and it's a wonderful thing to be involved in.
Refereeing at the very highest level in the Premier League is very much professional. It's a full-time occupation for the guys who take charge of those games, and rightly so, because the games are so demanding. They're getting quicker season in and season out, and the demands placed upon the match officials to be in the right place at the right time to make the right calls which can affect the outcome of a game, can affect the position in the league, can affect relegation, can affect Champions League places. With that comes huge rewards. Those demands are high, the pressures are high, a lot of scrutiny on what we do. So I think it's right and proper that referees are professional, and with that comes professional preparation as well, in terms of not only the mental side of things, the analysis of games, the reflection on performances, knowledge of the laws and the procedures and competition rules, but also the physical preparation as well, of course. And we're lucky in that when we work on the Premier League, we're assisted by 2 full-time sports scientists who set our training schedules on a weekly basis based around our commitments, our movements, our travel, including some overseas football as well. That's all taken into account. It's very personalised for us as individuals. It's worked out based on the amount of work that we can do at any one time during the stage of the season that we're at, so we don't over-fatigue, so that we peak at the right times, using heart rate monitors, which we feed back the data every single week of the training that we've done. We also have the assistance of a sports psychologist as well. Refereeing's a mental game, I think, and sometimes confidence can be low, maybe after a bad decision, a bad performance. You need to get yourself together quickly and focus on the positives whilst reflecting on what you could do better. So we have the assistance of sports psychology as well, and other things as well. From time to time we'll have assistance from physiotherapists, from massage therapists, eyesight experts as well, who assist us to make sure that we're doing the exercises that improve our eyesight. It's probably the most important muscle that we use when we're taking charge of football matches, and yet it's probably one of the muscles that we neglect the most in terms of the training and preparation. So a full plethora really of assistance that's there to make us perform at the highest level, mentally and physically.
What's the best way for me to get a positive reaction from these participants on the field of play? Caution a player, it's your eyes that send the message to the player that this is the line. So show your card and maintain eye contact. The game needs you to raise your profile, to gain control of the game. You have to step up and be seen and heard when the game needs you to be seen and heard. And they're the best referees who are able to do that and flex. And they step out and they step back in again. And they allow the players to play, but they're there when they need to be there.
To be appointed to referee the World Cup final is a huge honour, really, when you think there's only been 19 World Cup finals, and I'm told there's something like 2 million qualified football referees around the world in 2014, so you can imagine the slim chance that you have of being appointed to the game, but of course for some people it happens, and for me it did, and I was absolutely thrilled to be appointed to that particular game, a great responsibility.
And I came off the pitch, I actually caught sight of my dad. My dad was down in South Africa. I caught sight of him in the stand, and I gave him a thumbs up because I knew we'd got a chance of another game in that tournament. Match 64, Spain against the Netherlands, referee Webb, England. Those words changed my life. Within seconds of that announcement, my phone started to vibrate. We had to sit there for another hour and listen to Gerard Houllier talk about tactics of the teams. I love Gerard. He's a great person to listen to, but this phone was vibrating.
The game that I took charge of between the Netherlands and Spain in 2010 in Johannesburg was a difficult affair. It was an important game, and people said this will be a beautiful game, you know, played between two teams who know how to play the game. I thought, well, maybe it won't be so great because it's an important game, and really important games often don't live up to expectation. But it was a really challenging game. It threw up lots of situations that I had to deal with, and I had to keep my focus, draw upon my preparation, draw upon my experience, and that of my team, of which, you know, I had a great team with me down in South Africa. And I know from experience, maintain your focus, you maintain your line, you don't waver away from that. You know, if the game is difficult, then you dig in and you keep doing what you think is right at the time based on that level of knowledge and experience, and you see the game through. You certainly don't hide, and I think we got through to the end of the game in reasonable shape, even though it wasn't the type of game we'd hoped it would be. We hoped it would be a game where people would be speaking about the great goals and the great players, and there was a lot of attention on the amount of physicality in that game, but that was the game that was given to us, and we had to deal with what the game presented to us.
The pressure had eventually wore me down a little bit, week in, week out. I really enjoyed the journey, but I remember standing in the shower after big Premier League games, water coming down onto my head, either feeling one emotion or the other. One was relief, that was the biggest emotion I felt after big games, or the other one was trepidation about what the world was going to throw at me when I went out of the locker room door because I'd made a mistake. And eventually I felt I'd had enough of that. So I've been in North America, arrived on the 1st of March 2017, and I was involved in the implementation of VAR. I'm really proud to be a leader now of this group of officials that work in MLS, in Canada and in the USA.